In this lesson, we will learn about corrective targets. Corrective targets are simply morph targets that are used to correct deformations. So they're most certainly helpful by this final step to polish our skin deformations a bit further. So what we do is check for any areas that we would like to tweak. If you're working through a shot camera, it's best to find poses from that shot camera to fix, so you're not wasting any time. So it looks like about frame 37 would be a really good test subject here. You could see how we're getting a pinch in that right thigh. So let's go ahead and fix that. We'd go back to our skin pose, and we'd basically work on creating a morph target. Let's go ahead and turn off auto key. No need to use it as of right now. With our mesh selected, let's make sure we can do that. We might have to go back to manage layers and unfreeze our model. But once it's selected, you can see that it's pretty high res. That's simply because of the fact that the iterations on our turbo smooth are up to a value of 1. So what we could always do is just go in and trash the turbo smooth node, or you could always create another parameter and tie that parameter into this one so that that parameter now controls the iterations. I might just go in and trash the turbo smooth. We could always add it back. Alright, so once we've managed to do that, let's say we go ahead and clone our mesh. We'll press Ctrl V. We'll make this a copy, and we'll have this renamed to trgt_FR37. So this tells us the frame number that we're using the corrective shape on, just for clarity. Let's go ahead and now choose OK. Beautiful. So once it's been cloned, we know that we need to get rid of that skin modifier. It's going to cause that mesh to snap right back to the same position as our base mesh. So we'll go ahead and trash it, and now we can go ahead and move over our morph target. Great. Let's go ahead and create a layer for it. So we'll call it morph. Alright, sweet. We'll make sure the default layer is active. Let's go back to our base mesh. We'll create our morpher modifier. Press the M key a few times. There it is. We know that it needs to get added between the skin and the editable poly node. Great, so now it will evaluate in the right order. Let's make sure we capture the current state. So go ahead and scroll down until we find that, and we'll name it base. Alright, sweet. So now it's time to add our morph target. So we'll go to the next empty slot. Let's right click and choose pick from scene. We'll go ahead and select that mesh. So now it has been assigned. We can set it to 100%, and now we can start to make our correction. So we can go to frame 37 and get right to work. Now, the great thing is, if you need to, you can go to this mesh here and you can kind of move it. So if you'd like it to be a little bit closer to the base mesh that needs to be tweaked, just to tweak it a bit easier, you most certainly can do that. Alrighty, so we'll go to the morph target's point level. Let's go ahead and grab just a few points around the thigh. Alrighty, we might turn on soft selection and start dropping that fall off a bit more. Maybe to about a value of 1.5. And now we can start to make a few tweaks here. Let's go ahead and grab the y-axis, and we'll start to pull that forward. If you need to, feel free to turn on your wireframe by pressing F4. It might help to keep track of your topology as you make your changes. So as we start to tweak our points, how come we don't see an update? Well, remember, we need to turn on automatically update targets in order to see that change on the fly. So if I were to go ahead and undo back, exit the vertex of object level, and go back to the base mesh, we can go to our morpher modifier, scroll down, and turn on automatically reload target. So now when we go back to our morph target, go back to our vertex level, and start to tweak our points, and we'll see the change instantly. I find it great that Max remembers our selection. That helps us to save some time. So as we start to pull these points, you can see that already we're starting to get some nice results. So we might go ahead and pull these a bit more forward. We'll go to the points to our left and we'll go ahead and pull those to the side. So let's go ahead and select those. I'd recommend turning off soft selection at times because a lot of times we don't want to pull other points, just the ones we have selected. So we'll go ahead and start to pull those over to the side to get some volume back. Let's go ahead and pull these back in the y-axis, and instantly we have volume brought back. How cool. So we can start to tweak a few other points until we've managed to get the shape we like. I won't go too far because we get the idea. At this point, it's just a matter of using some modeling skills to fix the volume. So watch this. If we were to now go back to our base mesh and apply a mesh smooth or a turbo smooth, whichever you like. I'll go ahead and apply the turbo smooth back since that's what we used before. But you'll see that the volume looks much better than it did before. Very nice. All right, so now we just need to go ahead and animate the morpher modifier. If you'd like, you can go ahead and kind of disable the turbo smooth. So we could just focus on the morph here, making sure that's timed right. We can go to a few frames before where there are no issues. On about frame 34, let's go ahead and turn on auto key. We'll hold down shift and right click on our target's parameter to save that keyframe. I'll make sure that the value is set to 0. And now we'll go to frame 37 and we'll set the value to 100%. Beautiful. So now as we move forward, we can go ahead and make sure that's turned off on about frame 43. So we'll go ahead and set the weight back to 0. Let's take a look. All right, so that's looking nice. We might go ahead and take this key on 43 and start sliding that down a few more frames, perhaps to about frame 48. Sweet. So if we were to go ahead and turn back on the turbo smooth just to take a look, you'll notice that the volume looks much nicer than it did before. How exciting. So that's essentially how corrective targets work. Again, it's just a way of going in and adding that polish that we need to our deformations before we're ready to call this scene final. All right, well, that's it for this step. Now in the next lesson, I'd like to show you how to cache an animated character.